All right, first, the solving of polynomial equations. All right, sometimes they may give you polynomial or the equations written already as factors. It makes it really easy to solve. Once again, there's no reason for you to use your calculator on these types necessarily. If you understand how it works, it should be easier and it should be quicker than plugging it into your calculator. If they give you in factored form, you're going to use what's called the zero product rule. The zero product rule says if you have several factors, in this case just the two examples A and B, that are equal to 0, bless you, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0 are the two possible solutions. And so in this, they're going to give you expressions that are already factored. Okay. And you guys have probably seen this before. But if you have a set of factors equal to 0, all you need to do is set each of these factors equal to 0. So you could do it one of two ways. You could actually physically set them equal to 0. So take each factor, x minus 1 and x plus 7, set it equal to 0, and then solve. So on this left side, what would you have to do to isolate the x? What would you have to do to both sides of this equation to get the x completely alone? Add 1. Okay, so one possible solution is 1, and then the other one, what would you have to do to both sides of this equation to get the x alone? Undo the 7. So these would be your two solutions. Easiest thing to do for this, it's probably just mental calculation. Take each factor individually and ask yourself, what value of x gives you a 0 here? 1. What value of x would give you a 0 here? Negative 7. So you can do it just with that just quick mental calculation. Okay, so if I gave you something like this, what would be your possible values of x? For this first factor, x would be negative 4. And for this second factor, x would be? Okay. Questions on that? Pretty easy stuff. And what if instead of giving it as two separate factors this way, what if I gave you something like this? How would you solve this? Remember what the power represents, just repeated multiplication of the same factor. So all you're really doing here is you have the same factor, x minus 4 times x minus 4. So what value of x would give you a 0 here? What number could you plug in for x to get a 0 in this expression? 4. There's your answer. And now, because it's a repeated with the square, it's just a repeated factor. Okay? And so you can just, you don't have to redo it. You've already done it the one time. And what if I gave you something like this? This would be kind of the difficulty level, or one of the more challenging that you might see in here. If you're given something that has a coefficient of something other than 1, the easy way to figure out what your solution is you just take x is equal to the opposite of what's the operation that's being done to the x. So in order to undo this operation, what do you have to do? What undoes adding 3? Subtracting 3. And then divide by, take whatever that is, that's step 1. So you're going to undo the addition or subtraction. And then you're going to undo the coefficient. The coefficient will be the multiplying or dividing. So how do you undo multiplying by 2? You divide by 2. So here would be your solution. You just undo it. Okay, so if you have any coefficients beyond this, you simply undo it. The adding and subtracting, that's your numerator. Okay, and then undo the coefficient, that's your denominator. Okay, so the numerator, denominator. Okay, so what if I gave you something like this? Okay, what would be the solutions for this? You're going to have two possible values. What would be the first solution? What value of x here following this step? Creating a fraction, undo the addition subtraction, then undo the multiplication division. So what value of x would give you a 0 in this factor? Then undo the multiplying dividing, you get 3. So divide by 3 to undo this, add 5 to undo this. So here's one solution. And what solution would you get for this second factor? -1 over 2. Okay, so it's really easy. You shouldn't need to use your calculator for this set of problems. Okay, the last type that you might see might have fractions as the coefficient. So if we do just a quick example or two of that. All right. So if you're told that this set of factors is equal to 0 and you want to solve, okay, what's going to undo the adding, subtracting? You add 6, so we have a 6 in our numerator. Now, when we look at this denominator, and now you need to figure out what undoes all of these. So to undo this, we're going to multiply by what number? Again, it's the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 3, and we're going to divide by 2. And so if you look at this and simplify, 2 goes into 6, 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So one value of x is 9, and then the other value, if you undo this, you get a -1 in your numerator. And then how do you undo this? Yep, multiply by 2 over 1. Again, the 1 in the denominator doesn't mean anything, and so -1 times 2 gives you -2. So your two solutions for this would be 9 and -2. And now, if this would be probably the highest level of difficulty. If you do feel more comfortable using the solve key, you can enter the information just as it appears. So 2 divided by 3, x minus 6, parentheses, 1/2 x plus 1, parentheses, set it equal to 0. Oops. Identify what you want it to solve for. So solve for x, hit enter, and it confirms what we got by hand, -2 and 9. So you can use your calculators, but as you see, for many of the other forms beside this, doing it just with the mental calculation probably be a lot quicker than trying to enter all the information into the calculator every single time.